Hey guys, it's Steve here from Revive Stronger. As you all know, I should really get into introducing these podcasts properly if I'm going to make this serious. So this is going to be called the Macro Bodybuilding and Powerlifting Podcast. So all of us love all three of these things. We track our macros, we do some bodybuilding, powerlifting. We may be competitive, we may not be. We love getting strong and jacked, essentially. And today I'm excited to bring with you my friend, Mark Newcombe. So as soon as you hear Mark talk, you'll know where he's from. But I'll give a little bit of an introduction to him. Recently, he's got married, which is very exciting. Congratulations, Mark. I thought I should actually have said that before we started going on air, but congratulations. It's an amazing thing. But Mark and I have a lot in common in terms of not just the fact we like tracking our macros with lifting weights, but if anyone knows my backstory and where Revive Stronger comes from, it is all to do with the fact I came from being relatively ill and in a very bad place and managed to get fully better and 100% healthy and reviving stronger, as I like to call it. Mark has himself done something very similar, if not actually, well, way more impressive in my opinion, and a lot harder and tougher to have done. And I find him incredibly inspirational, and I wanted to share his story with you guys. So Mark himself, obviously now he is a father, he is also a husband, and he is a personal trainer, and a relatively new personal trainer in terms of the number of kind of switching jobs recently, always interested in health and fitness, but like myself, kind of coming into the industry a bit later, not necessarily our first job, but we'd always loved it. And it was what we were going to eventually do. It just was kind of when it was going to happen. So I will let Mark give himself a proper introduction, give him a little bit about your background, Mark, and what you're doing today. And then we'll get into kind of your reviving stronger experience, as it were.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. So thanks for having me on. Like you said, people will know where I'm from. So yeah, I'm a personal trainer in Aberdeen, up in Scotland, and I've actually only been practicing as a personal trainer for the last 6 months, or since the start of the year. Like you said, always been interested in it, right from kind of leaving school, going to the gym, kind of with friends and whatever else, but I never really seen myself doing it as a job. So when I was at school, I only ever wanted to be an electrician. My dad was an electrician. Even my granddad was kind of, he was an engineer on a boat. So we're always kind of technically minded. I used to go to work with my dad on holidays, and that's all I ever really see myself doing career-wise. Finished school, went on to do that, served my time as an electrician, and then, yeah, like I said, I always had an interest in going to the gym. Never really anything serious. I would just kind of go, do the typical, bicep curls with my friends and kind of go home, and that was really it. It wasn't until 2011, I actually, at the start of 2011, I started to kind of hang around with people who were into the gym a lot more than I was. And I started taking it a little bit more serious. So, me and my brother would start going to the gym. We used to kind of, whatever we were doing in the gym, would kind of do it next to the personal trainers that were in the gym, just to kind of listen in, see if we could learn anything. So things were getting a little bit more serious come the middle of 2011. And then August 2011 was when I had my leukemia diagnosis. Where I was ill for a few months, and then it was kind of post recovery that I started taking it in a lot more seriously, and just learning about training, nutrition, and that's really where I got the bite and I got the passion to do it. And it's kind of just been, it just went full circle now, and like I said, that's my job now. So yeah.
So in terms of kind of, obviously you got diagnosed with leukemia, which kind of that's a massive impact on your health, and it's like a sudden shock where you feel completely out of control. I know for myself, when I had my head injury and I was then left in hospital, I had full control of my body beforehand, and I was very much like yourself into health and fitness and the gym and stuff. Took it fairly seriously, but not crazy seriously. And then as soon as I had kind of recovered afterwards, I used the gym and used my nutrition in a much more serious way because it gave me control again. Did you find that element of kind of recovery and finding health in nutrition and training was partly control? Do you think it allowed you to feel like you had some sort of control over your life again?
I think 100% that is the whole reason I started doing or training and the nutrition thing, for sure. Because yeah, I mean, like I said, I was starting to take training a little bit more serious. I wasn't necessarily very big. I wasn't very skinny. I was kind of just, in the middle somewhere. But I always felt like I was getting stronger in some way by going to the gym. So, I'm at the time, I'm 23 years old, feeling strong, feeling fit, and then to have that leukemia diagnosis, it comes out of nowhere. I didn't really understand how it could happen to somebody like myself who was fit and active and strong, or at least I felt strong. But yeah, the training and nutrition, because as you rightly said, we don't have any control over our health, and I still don't have any control over health. In fact, it's completely and utterly out of my control. One of the things that I've found that helps me stay sane almost is the fact that I can't control what I eat and what I don't eat, or how many times a week I train. Just my nutrition and kind of lifestyle in general. That is one thing that I can't control, and that's why it's been such a big part of my life since the recovery.
100%. I completely can feel that, as in we both just described it. It was that sense of control, and I guess we to help other people with their health and fitness goals. And I found for myself, after having gone through such an event, I then would be able to, I felt like there were people out there in the world who hadn't necessarily gone through something as drastic as what you have and what I have, and had to come through that, but they're in a bad place. They're not happy with their current position. They're not happy with their current kind of situation, their physique or their strength, and they're just not happy. And they are probably feeling like they're out of control, almost like they just don't have the education or the knowledge to be able to put what they want into practice.
Yes.
And because we wanted some control, we had to educate ourselves from kind of ground zero up and kind of get every detail. I don't know about you, but I know when I went through it, it made me very obsessive, and I had to get every detail right because I was worried about my health, concerned about it. And so having done that for myself, I wanted to help others. And I know, having seen your kind of before and after pictures where you'd gained a lot of weight, I'm guessing because of the accident, and you couldn't really do much about it. So having to lose all of that, like you did, you had to know what you were doing, because kind of you can't not know what you're doing for that to happen. Is there a type of person you feel like you really relate to and you really seek to want to help and advise?
Yeah, so that's where my main client base comes from, is beginners who feel, or not beginners as in young males and females who are just starting out, leaving school and going to the gym. I'm talking beginners as in people who are maybe in their 30s and 40s, 50s, maybe even older, who have their whole lives almost had kind of weight management problems. They always seem to, or it feels like they're always dieting and never really getting anywhere. Or there's this cycle where they lose some weight and they gain some weight again, and they're kind of off it or on it, kind of. So that's my main kind of focus and passion, is helping people just educating people and giving them that kind of empowerment and knowledge, so that when they can work with me short term, long term, whatever. But I want them to have been educated enough that when they're finished with myself, they can go on and make progress on their own, and just kind of get away from, because most people take their nutrition advice from, like, the Sun newspaper, or this morning. There's always a new diet. There's always a new craze coming out, and obviously every time it comes out, it's better than the last one. So yeah, it's just kind of getting people to shift the mindset from that and almost the short term mindset, and just start putting little new habits into their lives that they can build on building blocks. Yeah.
And I guess these people are people who, they've probably tried to diet, tried to see and do the right things. They've probably tried all these methods that they read up on in magazines and newspapers, and they haven't seen the results they want, because half the time the stuff in there is absolute rubbish, contradicting, and it's very hard to actually be persistent and stick to.
Yeah.
So I think for myself anyway, when recovering from my accident, to be consistent was absolutely necessary. And I almost had like some sort of weird determinants, like I was unbelievably determined. There was almost nothing that could stop me being in full control. And I feel sometimes like people really lack the motivation and kind of are not determined to do it because their end goal seems so far away. And for ourselves, coming from being pretty fit and in good shape, and then coming out the other side of our accidents kind of completely not where we were before, it feels like a long way to get to where we wanted to be. Kind of what methods do you feel like you've learned from your accident, or not accident, sorry, you didn't have the accident, that was me. The illness, do you kind of use to give you kind of empowerment to focus more so on the process rather than kind of just that end goal all the time? Because I know for myself, whenever I thought about how far away I was away from where I wanted to be, it led to me really kind of getting very down and depressed myself. Whereas if I focused on, okay, I'm going to the gym today, I'm going to get out my session, I'm going to get I managed to see the end result in the end. So yeah, do you feel like you've developed some skills there?
I think just, of course, if you're an individual and you've over the years gained quite a lot of weight, you're not particularly happy with the way things are going, even in terms of health, I have people who are noticing that even playing with their grandkids or whatever, they're kind of out of breath and they can't interact with their kids or grandkids the same, and they think, right, I'm going to have to do something about this. When we sit down or if they come to me, or even they realize ourselves that this is going to be, this isn't a 12-week kind of transformation or mini cut or whatever. This is a whole lifestyle change, and it could well take a year or maybe a couple of years to kind of get to where they want to be. So rather than focusing on the time it's going to take, what we typically do is break it down into little kind of mini goals, and that could be whether for example, just by hitting if they report to me at the end of the week that they've been to the gym twice a week, that's massive progress for some people. Break it down into mini achievable goals along the way, and kind of just enjoying the process and telling them that I think it's just, these people they're either going to wake up in a year's time and be the same or worse off than they are at the moment. And I never really like putting anything off that's going to take a lot of time, because the time's kind of going to pass anyway. So they may as well be putting these little things into place. And I find, I don't know if I've explained that very well, but I find just short, sharp kind of mini goals along the way, breaking them down, achieving the goal, reevaluating, and kind of going from there. Focus on the process and the habit change rather than the actual time that it's going to take to get to where they want to be.
I completely agree. I think it's almost like stepping stones to getting across the pond. You want to be across the pond, but you have to focus on each step along the way, because if you try and just focus on kind of leaping, you're going to kind of fall and drown. I've literally made that analogy up off the spot. I'm quite proud of that. It worked quite well. So yeah, completely making mini goals is a definite thing that you should do, and actually having kind of an idea of where you're planning to be within a month's time, where you want to be in a week's time, where you want to be in kind of a year's time. I think it's good to have that much of a plan. And I know for myself, when I first came out of hospital and I tried getting back into it, it wasn't really about how much I knew or educating myself on what was actually going on. Initially, it was just about showing up and putting in the work and being determined to do that initially, because it didn't matter how much I knew. I wasn't in good enough condition to be able to do what I needed to do. It was just about building up momentum. And I think initially, at least for people, if they're really not sure what they should be doing, it's almost, they should just go and do something. And once you've done something, absolutely anything. I think after I did it, I actually went completely down the kind of bro route. I don't know, you might have been similar to me, Mark, and doing kind of meal plans. I did a horrific, I came out very skinny. I'd lost 2.5 stone in hospital and basically was trying to bulk it all back on. So I ate 4,000 calories, 300 grams of protein, myself silly, and went to the gym hard when I could. But initially it was just about building up momentum and doing it. And at least I actually saw results in that period of time. It wasn't necessarily the best results, but I definitely saw big changes in my body. And it was all about just putting it, you learn your mistakes and you can correct that and go forward again and then have a better plan. Did you find that happened for you as well? Did you kind of come out of hospital, wanted to gain some control and actually just put in some work, not necessarily the best work, maybe made some mistakes and then learned from that and went forward with it?
Absolutely. And I was kind of the opposite from yourself in terms of I certainly didn't need to gain any weight post illness. I mean, my kind of fighting weight around that time would have been 12 stone. And I can remember that's kind of, because I was going to the gym and training, I was kind of keeping an eye on these things. So I can remember being 12 stone when I was diagnosed. Really quickly, a few weeks being diagnosed, I went from 12 stone up to close to 16. And then by the time I was recovered, I was almost 17 and a half stone. So that's a lot of weight to kind of accumulate over. I mean, the treatment was for 9 months. So that's 5.5 stone in 9 months, which was huge changes to my body. So in terms of gaining muscle and getting stronger, that wasn't much of a focus for me. I just really wanted to lose the weight. And I done things, like you said, I got a gym program, I turned up. It probably wasn't the best way to be doing things. Certainly the diet wasn't something I'd recommend now either. I think I tried every diet, whatever was going at the time. As I spoke about the kind of fad diets, I'd done it, and I have done literally every single diet out there. I've tried everything, but again, because I was actively trying these things and just going to the gym and trying to make something happen, I did get some results and I did lose some weight. But it wasn't until I started investing some money in a personal trainer, a nutritionist to kind of help me with nutrition and stuff, and then things started to really kick in and really starting to see some marginal results and sustainable results as well. But I think that's
I mean, sorry, carry on, Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to add, that's one of the reasons I think I relate to my kind of client base so well, is because I've been there and done it myself, and I've been looking for the kind of the quick result or the perfect program,
Mhm.
You know, I think I spent 2 weeks looking for the perfect gym program. The only problem was, well, that whole 2 weeks I could have been in the gym doing something rather than not Googling the best gym program or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah, just show up and do anything, I think would be, yeah.
I think once you've shown up and you've become consistent in something, that shows that you have the ability to do it, and you've shown it to yourself that you can have that ability to be consistent and stick to something. I think problems arise when people go into like analysis paralysis. They try and find the best, they try and find the one this, whereas there is no one way, and it's something everyone has to just accept.
Yeah.
And that a lot of the reasons different programs work, different diets work, is because they are based around the principles of nutrition and training. And then as long as they do kind of hit at least the big ones, people will see results. And that's why we both saw results kind of regardless of not knowing much, because we did actually put in effort and work. And that's why I always try and get towards people is kind of, as long as you're showing up and doing something, that's better than nothing, because at least you can do that thing, see what the result was, learn from your mistakes, and then build from there.
Absolutely.
And you don't even need to be looking out towards other education. You educate yourself there. It's a very slow and painful process, which we both had. That's part of the reason I really wanted to find personal training, was because even after my accident and seeing some results, it wasn't until I actually found kind of education through Lyle McDonald, Alan Aragon, and then 3D Muscle Journey were probably my three biggest sources at first. Learning from them and then using what they told and putting that into practice, my results kind of were so different, so much better. So every kind of bit of effort I put in, I saw such every investment, I saw such a bigger result, bigger income from it.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of help people who have that kind of, they can be consistent, they can put in that hard work and determination, but they need kind of to streamline that route. I always think, like you said, you've got a personal trainer and nutrition coach. It's kind of like they are a walkthrough guide through a video game. You can go through a video game and like wander everywhere and try and fight every single person, or you can have a walkthrough guide that basically tells you, okay, go and walk up to this boss, fight him, and then you'll level up to the next level. Yeah. And you know where all the hidden, amazing. And that's what a coach can do for you. And that's mainly because they have taken the time to educate themselves, and probably done what you're doing and gone through the hardship at the same time. Yeah. So when you did educate yourself, what sources would you recommend to people watching? Kind of, where did you learn initially, and then where are you now? Where are the main sources of information for yourself, Mark?
Well, I can remember thinking, for all the efforts that I was putting in the gym, and even diet, although it wasn't the best diet, it was perfect actually. It was whatever I was on at the time. I can remember thinking, I am getting results, but surely there must be a better way than what I'm doing at the moment. So there's a gym facility in Aberdeen, actually where I work at the moment, Barry Stephen Personal Training. And these are the guys who I spoke about before, where I used to go to the gym with my brother and we'd train, and we would always kind of be listening in to what they were doing with their clients. Because that's how kind of, everyone knows who Barry Stephen Personal Training is in Aberdeen. It's a really reputable place, and I knew that if anything I could learn from these guys was going to be beneficial to myself. And then, so I actually invested in getting some personal training from them. And then to kind of complement that, I got in touch with Scott Bapty from Food for Fitness. And
oh yeah.
Who is actually Aberdeen based, so it worked in perfect. But yeah, he was the kind of first nutritionist that I kind of started to follow his work. And then I can remember seeing him posting about Alan Aragon, Eric Helms, and then once you're kind of following these guys, then the rest of 3DMJ, Brad Schoenfeld, Brett Contreras, all these kind of people opened up to me, and then it was like a new world to me, all this kind of information coming in. And I also found out from from them how quickly times can change with the industry, and how important it is to kind of keep up to date with the most recent research. Something I do now. But yeah, as in right now, as a personal trainer who works one-to-one with clients, and I think if anyone's watching this who works one-to-one with clients, I think Nick Tumnello, in terms of like practical applications to personal training, I think he's absolutely fantastic. And right at this moment in time, again, one-to-one personal training, I don't think you could get much comprehensive information from Nick. So I'd recommend people follow Nick's work for sure.
Yeah, I think his website, Ultimate Performance, isn't it, Nick Terminello?
It's Performance University. You would get on even his YouTube videos, everything. As not so much like, I guess if you're going to be working with people online with their nutrition, then of course the guys from 3DMJ, Lyle McDonald, and the likes, they're everything they put out, I read or and try and apply as best I can. But as an actual physical personal trainer, I think Nick Tumnello and Performance University is just a great resource for anybody.
And then in terms of kind of people who are maybe in a position where we've described, where they are in a position where they're not happy with their body physique going forward. For myself, I know we'd first off recommend just doing something. Doing something is definitely better than nothing. Most diets out there will work for a period of time. You'll probably find out they fail you after a while, like we did, and then you'll try and learn and you'll develop your skills from there. Just the same with training, as long as you're pushing yourself appropriately and kind of actually putting in effort, you will see some results. But after that, I think for myself, kind of they have to focus on the priority. So for training, they really have to focus on trying to improve every time they can. And then taking periods of rest, kind of pushing and pulling back is probably one main thing I would recommend to people, but also focusing on kind of hitting the entire body, not just focusing on kind of just benching and just mirror muscles. They've got to remember that they have an entire body to work with, train that entire body through compound movements, kind of your squats, maybe a leg press if you can't squat, a bench, and kind of rowing and pulling movements.
For sure.
And then being consistent with that and pushing forward. And then diet-wise, you have to remember that calories are king, and you can't discount that. As soon as you get a grasp that different foods contain different amounts of energy, and you specifically can manipulate your body composition through that, then kind of results change massively. And as long as you kind of make sure you're eating nice amount of protein and then you have an appropriate calorie intake, I think with that and that kind of the training priority of progressive overload and compound movements, I think for most beginners, that would be an excellent setup, just going to the gym and then doing their nutrition via that. And it's fairly simple.
Absolutely. It is simple. And it becomes, I guess, even tracking loosely is better than not tracking at all. There's so many online calculators nowadays that you could literally Google, TDE in Google, get a number, any number, stick to that for 3 or 4 weeks, see how things are going, and then you can start to manipulate as you see fit. Same with training, do something. I think most of the time, what I see is that kind of jumping from program to program. So doing a program for 2 weeks, giving up on it, trying something else for 2 weeks, try to keep the body guessing or whatever, and it never really yields any kind of results. People don't give, but we are typically impatient. That's just like human nature. We want results, we want them now, we want the best program, we want the best nutrition setup. But we also need to develop patience and just kind of let these things happen. Get a program, any program, stick to it 6, 8 weeks, whatever, and just kind of just have a bit of patience and give it time.
And I think we've shown that we both had to be incredibly patient, considering kind of we'd had to push through where a time in life where, I mean, you were really overweight, and I'm not surprised as well with that. I know I certainly battled through periods of feeling, I wasn't diagnosed with depression, but I certainly felt very down about where my life was, how my body was. And I think you can go two ways. You can either react and think, oh, I'm just gonna be a pity party. I'm not going to focus on anything. I'm just going to overeat and just make my body even worse. Or you can react the way we did and come through stronger and actually just think, okay, so I can't control a lot of things that are going on in my life, but one thing I can do is just try and better my body. And once your body feels better, your mind feels better. You kind of feel encouraged every time you improve things in the gym. Your body changes in positive ways. I think, but something we both really push is just making sure the first thing you do is show up, put in some effort for a consistent period of time, and then from there you can tweak things and manage it, and then educate yourself slowly over time. The most important thing isn't that initial education. That can come later. The most important thing is initially doing some work, and you can you can go through this process a lot faster if you've got your walkthrough guide, which is a coach, a friend, anyone who's informed who can help you. I know yourself, you're on Snapchat, aren't you, Mark?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So I think Mark Newcombe.
Just at Mark Newcombe, yeah, that's me. And I try.
So we're
Sorry.
I was just going to say we'll put your Snapchat and all your information in the kind of comments and stuff below, so people can get hold of you there. But I know for myself on Snapchat, people can literally record themselves, and I know you will as well, record a video back telling them exactly how they can kind of apply it for themselves.
Yeah.
So there's so many free resources out there that people are willing to give information. It's just about trying to find the ones you could trust. And I think for anyone, if someone's watching this, they're already in a great they're surrounding themselves with great minds. But if someone's watching this and they're a bit unsure who to trust, they just should, in my opinion, trust someone for a period of time and then go with that. And then once they've seen what's happened with this person, be consistent with it. And then they can kind of judge and assess it as they want to, rather than kind of jump in the gun, like you said, program hopping all the time, trying to find the quick fix, trying to find the best thing. That's never good. So I think we've kind of come to a roundabout stop in terms of, we know where we want people to go. We want them to show up, put in some work, be consistent, and then develop through that. I know for yourself, you must have developed kind of some strong willpower to keep yourself on track. Is there anything kind of in your life when you're thinking, okay, things are tough right now, is there anything you use to kind of keep yourself on track? Do you ever think about other things? Do you try and keep perspective? What keeps you going, Mark?
To be honest, perspective's a pretty big one for myself. I think I can relate to client. Even myself, what I've just said about being patient with the trusted process, I want bigger muscles now. Mm-hmm. I want to be jacked right now and yearly shredded. I want that, but I've had to come through a period of time where, like I said, I've never really had, up until recently, a proper hypertrophy block of training. I've been dieting literally for the last 2 or 3 years because I had that much weight to come off. So yeah, I sometimes look at younger guys in the gym who are bigger than me. I'm 28 years old now, and I'm thinking, what have I been doing all this time? Why have I not got his biceps? And then I've kind of just got to take a sit back and think, if Mark that was lying in a hospital bed was to hear me now, he'd kick his ass. So I'm first and foremost, I'm just happy to kind of be able to do anything. So perspective for me really does, it's the biggest one for myself. And also just having that long-term goal. So I'm looking at saying, I'm 28 now, and these guys who are younger than me are bigger than me, but by the time I'm 33, the longer term plan, I'm going to be able to kind of build a physique that I'm going to eventually be happy with. So yes, just keeping the long term plan and goal in mind, and having that perspective of where I've came from. And I still have it now. I know this is something I've spoken to yourself about in the past, with the terms of back squats even. So I get really frustrated in the gym because my back squat's pretty poor. And in fact, it's got marginally worse this year. But I just don't have. There's just the knee pain. I used to have knee pain, which has kind of settled down slightly recently. But I just don't have that force. There's no power in my legs to kind of get good weight on my back. But the reason I keep programming squats in is just because, when I first started going to the gym, my first training session was just being able to walk upstairs in my own house. So at the latter stages of treatment, I was sleeping downstairs because I couldn't get upstairs. 2 or 3 steps, and I couldn't get I physically couldn't get my legs to carry myself upstairs. So from that to where I am now, again, keeping perspective in mind, I really try and focus on that rather than I focus on what I can do rather than what I can't do, kind of thing.
I think that's, especially that end point you've ended is fantastic. I think you also touched on some good points in terms of, I think a lot of the time when people get frustrated with their own results right now is they're looking towards other people. Like you're looking at these younger guys in the gym, and I know that you can't miss it now on social media. With Instagram, it's like the amount of guys on there who are ripped, shredded, huge. Yeah. And who knows whether it's kind of Adobe gains and Photoshop this and what filters they brought on there, whatever it is, they still look amazing. You're kind of like, why am I not there yet? I think something is that you said it's important to take perspective. I know for myself, like you, and even like I take it for granted that I can train, and that, I mean, there was a period of time I was on a fluid restriction of 250 mils a day. And so when I go and drink like 2 liters of sparkling water every day and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, I don't really consider, or I don't even kind of consider that a blessing, or like, I'm so fortunate that I could have even, like, both of us could have died from our accidents. We could not even be here today. So like for us, we have that powerful thing to look back and take perspective, but other people can look back at where they've been and where they've come from. And they also have to take into account their own situation, their genetics. Are their parents jacked, muscly like people? If they're not, then don't expect yourself to be as jacked as someone else necessarily. And look at your situation in terms of you're a husband, you've got a child, you haven't got as much time to put towards training, and your nutrition might not quite be as on point because you've got these other stresses going on in your life. And I know for myself, I've got a shoulder injury. So for me to be able to bench as much as kind of the strongest guy in the gym, it's just never going to happen. I've got this injury, I have to deal with it. I have to take perspective of that and actually like consider my own situation before trying to be looking towards others. I think looking towards others is great for inspiration, but not in terms of kind of tracking your own progress. You've got to look at where you've come from and where you want to be in future, and look at compare you to you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And yeah, that's something that I try and get across to my own clients, is kind of just, focus on yourself. I know that, like I said, I do it as well. I see these guys on Instagram as well, Facebook, like you said. But yeah, just kind of, focus on yourself. And because even where people are now kind of could have been out of their control in some way. So for instance, if you have a 20-year-old female that's lived with her parents up until this point, she's gained a lot of weight, but if she's been having the same kind of dietary intake as her parents have, if they're cooking her meals, if she's kind of having the same habits as if they've got, in some way, her body composition now has kind of been out of her control. But by the time, but what happens is when she's ready to change her body composition, and when she kind of invests in whether it's money into a coach or time into education, now she can start to look at where she is and start to make changes that are in her control. So yeah, it doesn't just take an accident or an illness to have these things taken out of your control. Even to some extent, office workers and stuff, it is they still have to control what they eat and things. But so a lot of times you do kind of adapt your environment and it becomes comfortable. And if everybody else is having the cake on Friday, then you have the cake on Friday. So although it's still in your control, I guess it's in some ways not ideal at the same time. I don't know if I explained that very well, but
I still think you touched on a really nice point there in terms of, obviously me have gone through something that's made us react and change, educate ourselves and push forward and revive stronger in a sense. Whereas other people might not have anything that causes this to happen. I think loads of people in health and fitness have gone through something that's changed their life, that's like a shock, an injury, kind of maybe it could be a family member dying, passing away. It could be anything. Something has caused this ignition for them to take control of their body and their life in a positive way. Yeah. And what we want people not to do is have to have that happen to them. I don't want people to have to be hit by a van, have a head injury that causes them to be in hospital for months, to be the kick up the arse that they need to sort their body and their lives out. I want them to be relatively healthy already and just get that extra bit healthier, get that extra bit more confident, and streamline their results when they don't need something horrible to happen to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. I think we probably kind of in a roundabout way come to the end of kind of what we wanted to talk about, which was really a bit about your background, where we both come from in terms of kind of that ignition which we needed, but the fact that really it was all about showing up, putting in the work, and then being consistent and molding it from there. And the education can help massively.
Yeah,
putting in that initial work, and then you can come out stronger the other side. So if people want to reach you, Mark, where should they look for you? Facebook, Snapchat, put in anything you want.
Yeah, I'm on Snapchat. I'm quite active on Snapchat. It's more of so there's content, but there's also kind of just giving people an insight into what I get up to daily, which I think is really important. I think it's important that as coaches we are approachable. Number one, just kind of lets people see that we get up to normal stuff. I like to go and eat out with my family. I like to go and spend some time with my daughter. So yeah, Snapchat's one. I've got the Facebook page, MN Fitness, the Facebook page. I will have a website that's taken forever, it seems like, to get going. There's always problems with that, it looks like. But yeah, once the website's up and running, I can let people know what that's going to be as well. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll link all your things below. And for those who might not be in I've got a free Facebook group on Facebook, macros, bodybuilding and powerlifting. And it's got Mark in there. Mark's also an admin on there. So he also helps me out on there, posting in there, helping answer questions. And hopefully you'll be seeing more of Mark on Revive Stronger, my website. And yeah, so thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time out from your day and talking about your experience. And hopefully it's really given some people some not only kind of ideas, practical takeaways of where they can push forward from today, but hopefully I hope it's inspired some people, because I know whenever I talk to you about it, I get inspired and it really makes me think about life so much more. It really opens my eyes to where I really want to be. And you can do amazing things.
Yeah, I hope so, because, I think people get so kind of stuck where they are and so kind of bogged down that they can never see themselves changing. If they can see where where I've came from, where yourselves came from. You know, all it takes is, like you said, show up, bit of effort, a little bit of education, and things will happen for sure. It's just some people can't see that initially, and for whatever reason, people think that they can never lose weight. Everybody else can lose weight, they can't. It's too difficult, and really, it is just a case of, you know, being educated and showing up and doing something. And it will happen. It is a process. And yeah, that's kind of why I started doing what I do, and why I started the Facebook page even was just to show people, like, this was me then, this is kind of me now. This does happen. You know, I'm not special. It's just a case of putting in the work and getting the results. So if I can do it, for sure anyone can do it. And I just find myself in a really fortunate position that I'm able to help people get there as well, which is just, yeah, it's the best job.
No, 100%, I agree. And I think I'm just going to leave the audience with a bit of a, not a quote, but get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you do have to get uncomfortable for a period of time. And both me and Mark were uncomfortable, and really uncomfortable for a period of time. And if you're currently comfortable, get out of your comfort zone. If you want things to happen, you need to get out and start doing something. Make that change today.
Absolutely.
Cheers, Mark.
No problem, Steve. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.